Dear friends, welcome back. In previous lecture, through examples and discussion, we tried to understand why understanding design fundamentals are important. So let us start with understanding line as an element of design. If you will pay the attention, by the end of this module, you will be able to understand the significance of lines in design. You will be able to identify various types of lines and their expressive qualities. You will be able to utilize lines effectively to convey meaning, movement, and form in design projects. This module will also give you some understanding about how to analyze the role of lines in historical and contemporary design work and create design compositions using lines that express emotions, structure, and narratives. In this part, we will mainly cover 4 aspects, starting with introduction to line, which will be followed by understanding the expressive qualities of line. Then we will look into how line behave in spatial organization and perspective as well. And at the end, through examples, we will try to understand its application, both traditional and contemporary. So the question is, what is line? A line is a fundamental element that connects 2 points, creating a path or boundary. It can vary in width, direction, and length as well, and it is often used to define shapes, create texture, and convey movement. Along with this, there are many other definitions of line, and different scholars and researchers have used different other ways to define it. For example, Paul Lee says, a line is a dot out of a walk, or a line is a mark whose length is greater than its width. So we can have our own definition about the line. Gradually, once we will go through this lecture, I hope you will be able to come up with your own definition, like the way we did when we were trying to understand design and design fundamentals. So if you look at this yellow color square, because its boundaries are same, it looks more like a dot or a shape. Do you agree? But once the length is increased, it starts appearing like a line. And in the final representation, we can easily identify this as a line. The reason is simple. The length is bigger than the width. That means scale plays an important role in defining a line. While defining this line, another important element got highlighted is point or dot. You can say that a dot is the smallest unit for anything. It is like a brick of a building. However, with change in scale or size, it can behave in different manners and create different meanings. When 2 different sizes of dots are placed overlapping to each other, which is visible on the screen, it may create an illusion of space, right? And depending on its contrast and placement, it may act as a significant tool to create emphasis as well. Let me show you a very interesting example from Typo Day 2013. This is in an international conference on typography. For Typo Day 2013, we got an opportunity to brand the whole conference in guidance with Professor D. Uday Kumar. And interestingly, the whole branding was done taking dot as a basic unit. In the beginning, we were clueless that how it is going to be, but ultimately the outcome really mesmerized us. From logotype to all the collaterals, if you look in from this conference, dot was the key element. If you see these posters, which is visible on the screen, you will realize that the whole composition has been created just by arranging dots in a certain pattern. So this is the power a dot has. And if it is used effectively, it can communicate message in a very interesting manner, and also at the same time it can create a lot of impact. Even if you look at in this conference, the inaugural event was planned around dot, and we managed to get round candles where we used it to reflect the theme and then the tracks of the conference. If you look at scale means size of the elements. So if you look at the scale, it also plays a significant role in defining a line and a shape. With a smaller size and more surrounding, a stroke may appear as a line. For example, look at these dolls, where the scale is very small and every dolls are arranged in a linear fashion like dots in one direction. And because of this, we can visualize lines. Also, because of the doll size, these three lines appear with three different thickness. When we zoom into the specific part of it, from line it shifts and takes the characteristics of a shape, and in some sense you can say as a form. That means large surrounding can dwarf a shape and turn it into a line, right? Or a small surrounding can make a line appear to expand into a shape. Let us see a few more examples to understand this in a better way. In this example, letter A has been created using different line strokes of almost same thickness. We can easily identify the diagonal, slanted and horizontal lines, right? So there is two diagonal line and one horizontal line which is coming together and then making the whole letter. However, once the scale is increased and letter is cropped from all sides, the whole composition it starts appearing like a composition created using different shapes. So why this is happening? This is happening because we are manipulating the surrounding space and the size of the element. Similarly, if you look at the screen, in this spiral jetty, a work by Robert, when we are seeing it from far away, the artwork is surrounded by more space, right? And because of that, it appears like a spiral line. Do you also see spiral line? I hope so. But if you zoom in to one part of the whole, the appearance changes to a shape. So this is more like when you increase the size and then fill the space with the element, most probably it will become shape. When you decrease the size and accordingly the length increases and width decreases, it shifts toward line. All right, so let us move ahead and then see how we can create lines. So line can form along the edge as well, and this may happen when two values meet. For example, if you look at the first example where you see a single color value and it appears flat without suggesting any lines, whereas in the bottom example where two values black and gray are meeting, you can immediately perceive a line dividing these two color blocks. That has been also indicated by yellow arrow. So line can also be seen when two surfaces meet. In this example, you can see three surfaces A, B, C, and then the edge on which these surfaces are meeting, one can see a line. This you can experiment easily in your surrounding. You take any object in your from your house and then try to see when two surfaces are meeting, do you really see a line, a sharp line, or maybe a curved line when the box is rounded? So this illusion is also created by different values, because when you are seeing this from a particular angle and position, the surface appears as having a different values, isn't it? Another way to see line is when two surfaces intersect. The point of intersection gives an illusion of line. This you can find in furniture, right? Or maybe the house wall, where two walls are intersecting. Immediately it results into a line. Now there are different types of line, each with its own impact and maybe you can say its own meaning as well. Some of them which are listed here are horizontal line, vertical lines, diagonal lines, curve lines, or we can say wavy lines, dotted or broken lines. We can also have a spiral or zigzag lines. So in graphic design, lines can guide the viewer's eyes in terms of organizing the information, and it can also influence the overall visual flow of a design. Now let us move ahead and then see different expressive qualities of line. So whatever different kinds of line we just discussed, these line poses different expressive qualities as well. The expressive qualities of a line refer to its emotional or psychological impact a line can convey in a visual composition. Lines are more than just functional. They can evoke a specific feeling, set a tone, and guide the viewer's perception. For example, horizontal lines suggest calmness, peace, stability, and rest. These lines mimic the horizon or the earth, giving a sense of grounding and relaxation as well. They create a sense of equilibrium, making the design feel balanced and soothing to your eyes. So, can we call this setup as a passive? Just think about it. Similarly, a diagonal line shows movement, instability, tension, or excitement. Because diagonal lines imply action or change, they bring energy into a composition. They disrupt the stability of horizontal and vertical lines, and they create visual interest and a sense of motion or urgency in any composition. So the example which is visible on the screen, can we call this composition as an active composition? So can we call this an active and unstable composition? Let us look into the vertical lines. Vertical lines depicts strength, formality, power and growth. Vertical lines draw eyes upward, often associated with trees, buildings or pillars. Many times they emphasize height, giving a sense of structure, formality or authority because it is form. Right? So the composition, which is the setup which is visible on the screen, can we say that this is a stable and powerful arrangement? Just think about it. Similarly, a combination of vertical and horizontal line makes it even more stronger and structured, as shown in the composition on the screen. The expressive quality of curved lines are fluidity, softness, grace, and playfulness. Curved lines lead the viewer's eyes in a natural, gentle way. They are often used to convey graphic, organic shapes found in nature, and they suggest elegance, gentleness, or sensuality. So the line which is visible on the screen, can we assign a keyword such as non-structural, fluid, and soft to this? What about this line? I want you to think of some keyword which can explain this line. Did you find the keyword? So now tell me, how many of you have thought of assigning tender, soft, feminine quality to this line? If you are able to find at least one keyword, that means you are in the right track and your understanding is building up in terms of understanding line as one of the key and fundamental elements of design. There are many other qualities of lines, and it changes depending on its appearance and uses, right? So here we are just discussing a few lines, which is kind of we have noted it down so that you will be aware about these lines, but at the same time you may also look into your surrounding, around your home, outside home, and try to see lines and then understand them, why it has been. And for example, if it is a vertical, whether it is giving a sense of strength, if it is a curve, whether it is giving you some sense of friendship, or maybe some fluidity. So I hope you will do this exercise after this lecture. Let us move ahead and then look into another line, which is zigzag lines. Zigzag lines depicts chaos, energy, unpredictability, or maybe you can say anxiety as well. The sharp, jagged nature of zigzag line convey instability and erratic movements as well. These lines are effective at creating a sense of tension or unease, adding drama to the whole composition. So can we suggest some keyword to this composition. What about jagged, hard, and masculine? Then in terms of thickness also, the meaning and then emotions can change when you're looking at lines. So thick lines generally represent strength, boldness, and confidence. It also commands attention and can dominate a composition. They convey a feeling of power, importance, often used for emphasis or to draw focus in any design composition. Whereas if you look at thin lines, it shows delicacy, elegance, or fragility. Thin lines suggest precision and it is very delicate in nature. They are less dominant but can convey detail and fineness as well, offering a more understated or sophisticated expressions within a design composition. There is another line quality which is broken or dotted lines. These lines generally represent uncertainty, openness, or incompleteness. Broken lines indicate something is unfinished or in motion. So for movement, many times we use broken line. They can be used to suggest flexibility or connection between elements that are distant from each other. Similarly, this kind of arrangement suggests chaos and confusion, and this may suggest logical plan and order. So now there is a term called implied lines. These lines are quite popular in graphic design works in terms of creating emphasis, guiding eyes. So these lines are not physically drawn but are created by arrangement of elements that guide the eyes in certain direction. They can suggest connection, progression, or movement without being explicit. For example, in this arrangement, do you notice 3 vertical lines? So 2 on the both corner and 1 in the center. This is happening because of the arrangement of elements and it is purely suggestive, right? So intentionally, you don't create these lines by using elements, but a designer finds some other ways just to suggest that there is a line which is an implied line. Now look at this example. This is a painting titled The Father Curse and then The Ungrateful Son. This painting is an interesting example to see a different kind of implied lines we can generate through design elements. The painting has used many implied lines to guide viewer's eyes throughout the artwork. For example, the movement of figures and the direction that in the direction they are looking at. If you look at their hand gestures, right? So everything is suggesting towards one direction. So you may find many examples in your surrounding as well where implied lines are helping out to guide viewers' eyes throughout different composition and different arrangements as well. So now when you go out, keep your eyes open, look for a literal line, literal representation where line is there, it exists, and then also look for this kind of lines where you don't see the lines, but you perceive that there is a line which exists and it is helping out in some sense. All right, so now let us go through some more examples to understand line qualities and its uses in design work. This is a very famous work by Pablo Picasso. This series depicts how line can help in the abstraction of form to make it universal in nature. Universal means something which is interpreted in a similar way by mass audience or viewers. And when you talk about universal, then it is something which is very abstract and it is bias free from culture, from the context. If you look at this representation, just using few lines, the artist is able to suggest an animal form with almost all its characteristic features, the basic features which helps to identify it. So to look into this kind of style, I would suggest if you have kids in your house, just ask them to draw certain figures. For example, you tell them to draw US, and you will find that they will come up with a very simple drawing where you have different basic elements which are combined, for example, circle, rectangle, lines to represent a human figure. So their representation is more or less universal, where if you will show that drawing to anyone, they will immediately say, okay, this is what it has been designed or has been intended to communicate. But if you take a original picture of a person, okay, for example, or an animal, so then it literally represent that kind of animal. So a bear will be bear, a leopard will be leopard. It's not like just a universal language where you say this is an animal. We'll discuss about this further in the module and then try to understand how you can make your design very universal so that multiple people can decipher, understand it in the same way, the way which is intended by the designer. Now let us see, this is another example where just a single line has been used to create impact and communicate the intended meaning. Now this is another amazing example to understand how powerfully we can use lines in our design composition. If you look at the text in the bottom, it says, how much longer can we hand you this line? And if you can read the body text, the small paragraph in the bottom, which I think it is not visible on the screen, it says, forever we hope. So now you can see how this text and image, visual and textual contents are complementing each other. At the same time, how powerfully a line can be used to disclose or to suggest about a product and also create the nostalgia or bring out the memories which the customer already have with the brand. So this advertisement is not for everyone. This is for the existing user who are aware about the car exterior and who have experienced it as a product. That's why that question is there in the bottom where it says, how much longer can we hand you this line? So through this example, it is very much clear that just line alone may help you to communicate something which is very connotative, indirect, and powerful, and at the same time very emotional. This is another example of a movie poster where broken lines, which we discussed recently, have been used to suggest direction and movement. The movement is also because of the diagonal arrangement. The line texture is also adding contrast and helps in creating interest in this composition. Let us see these two examples. These two posters for the same film, The Walk. But the way lines are used in both posters suggests different aspects of the film. In the first left side poster, composition is asymmetric and lines are very dynamic if you look at it. And somehow it is suggesting the danger associated with this act. This is in very contrast with the second poster where lines are very much settled and balanced. So you see vertical line and horizontal lines. Though there is a dynamic line which is a part of the building, but the line which is leading eye through the title is very stable and perfect in one sense. So as I said, in the second posters, lines are very much settled and balanced, reflecting on the confidence of the actor in performing this act. Here, lines are also guiding viewers' eyes towards the title of the film, and most probably because of that, it is helping out in creating emphasis and visual hierarchy in the whole composition. Let us see another example from Indian context. These are the two film posters for film Aankhein, where lines are used to create emphasis, both on the actor faces and also in the composition. The self-portrait by Cathay shows lines which are created by changing the values. We discussed a little bit about this earlier, and we are going to cover this as a separate element in design. So lines may also use to create texture. Of course, we are going to discuss texture as a separate element, but let us see a few examples where lines are used to create texture and interest. So in coming sections, we will learn how lines may help to create illusion of form and volume in 2D surface. To understand different qualities of lines, it is interesting to look at Olympic pictograms from different years. In this example, which is from 1972 to Munich Olympics, the lines are very geometrical, suggesting rigidity, seriousness of different games maybe. But if you look at these pictograms, which is from 1992 Barcelona Olympic, the lines quality is very different than the first one, right? Just look at this, which is very geometric, though it is rounded, and the diagonal versions giving a lot of dynamism to the pictogram. However, if you look at this, this is very much organic, and it is also very fluid. So many times this kind of adaptation happens not only because of the theme of the event, but also because of the cultural influence, maybe from the place, country, maybe culture, whatever culture they have, depending on where it is getting organized, what are the people who are associated with it, and for whom it is been created. That means the design is very contextual. Now look at this 2008 Beijing Olympics pictograms. Now it is again very different than the previous two one, and it shows another quality of lines. So I would suggest you should, after this class, you should go back and then look into pictograms of other edition to understand this in a better way. You will also find within a group of pictogram how the lines are helping to create synergy or harmony along the different visuals. This is another use of lines to suggest route map. You may find it especially in metro route maps, where the line has been used very effectively to communicate, to suggest the direction, and also to point out the different stations. Lines can also become a very powerful element to reflect on brand's image and perception. But this kind of associations also depends on our experience with the brand and its product. On this screen, this logo of Adidas and then three lines. I hope everyone are aware about this. So wherever you see these three lines, immediately you associate the product or offerings with Adidas, right? So only thing is that memory, that relationship has to be built with time and experience. These are few more examples which are done by me using lines to create interesting compositions. Here the fluid lines are very striking to eyes. So this, if you look at this is the Devanagari letter U, again created using similar approach, using wavy lines. And the strokes which has been used to create this composition, basically that is creating an impact. Two reasons. One is there is a very rhythmic variation, and at the same time the arrangement, the gap, the white space. So it is not like only the element will suggest the meaning, but if you look at any composition, everything works in totality. Now if you look at this example, you will see that the texture has been created using lines, where the different thickness has been used. All right then. I hope you are now aware about different types of lines, its expressive qualities, and how it can be used to communicate different ideas. If we have to summarize the whole lecture on line, we can infer that lines can help and lead the viewer's eye through the design, helping to create focal points or direct movement across the composition. Line can define boundaries or create shapes, influencing how space is organized in a composition. Repetitive lines or varied thickness can create texture. We just saw an example of calligraphy. So it can also help you out to create depth, layers within a design composition, making it more visually dynamic. Depending on their form, line can evoke different emotional responses, helping to set the tone of the overall design. For example, calmness with horizontal line, tension with diagonal lines, or friendliness with curved lines. So line has a different kind of emotions as well. Another thing is understanding these qualities allows designer to use lines effectively to communicate ideas, create visual harmony, and evoke desired emotional responses. So best way to understand line is that you look for line in your surrounding and try to understand what kind of message or meaning it communicates when you are looking at it. Another approach is looking at famous artworks or any kind of work. It may be from architecture, it can be from painting, sculpture, or anything, and trying to derive or isolate. So basically doing a reverse engineering, which we discussed in the beginning. So if you can isolate lines from those work, it will help you to understand them in a better way. For example, in this building, vertical lines are very prominent, and at the same time, if you look at the setup, it is very fluid, making it very harmonious and pleasing to your eyes. Similarly, this is sculpture by Alberto. It has a rugged line quality, which is very different from the building we just saw and discussed. This rugged quality may suggest a rough phase in life, challenges, and threat, and many other meanings which can be evoked when a viewer is looking at it. Similarly, in this painting by Piet Mondrian, lines are so dominant, and to me, line qualities gives a sense of confusion and struggle. So the idea is if these three qualities of lines has to be combined, it may result into a powerful artwork loaded with interesting meanings and philosophy. Can you create one using these three lines? I would suggest give a try after this class. Let me show you one example where these three qualities of line has been used to create a composition. The earlier three qualities of line has been used here to communicate a theme called endurance. This is done by one of the BDC students as a part of this as an assignment, classroom assignment. The composition depicts how we go on in the face of challenges. Now we are talking about the philosophical aspect. When you arrange these lines and combine these lines, what kind of meaning and philosophy it can disclose, or what kind of meaning it can communicate to the viewers. So if you look at this composition, it depicts how we go on in the face of challenges. The vertical rugged line depicts a curtain of threat that seeks to overwhelm us. Yet at the center stands an umbrella. Can you see that umbrella? Right. So it is made up of delicate yet stable trunk. And if you look at the line quality, it is worn and rugged as well, unveiling a stronger, resilient cell, which is it is hidden underneath. And that resists the weight of the hardship, which is there on the top composition through vertical lines. So if you look at the symbolic meaning, it symbolizes the transformative power of challenges, where struggle and hardships make way for growth and fortification. So now just one composition can give you so many in-depth meanings. So you can imagine, if you understand this element, which is line, you can create you can do wonders and in terms of communicating your message in a very simple and effective way. This is another example where three different qualities of lines, which is there in the left side, are combined to create a sense of parenthood. So this is also a literal representation where you can also notice an egg and two birds. So along with literal, the arrangement is also very protective. So you just see there is a circle and all those. We will discuss these things later in the module when we are talking about shapes. But just to make you understand, line uses, placements, qualities can disclose different kind of meaning. So you may also try doing this kind of exercise at home to polish your understanding of lines and its connotative power. So all right then, here we conclude session on understanding line as a design element. And I hope whenever whatever you have learned and whenever you are looking outside in your surrounding, you will be able to identify various types of line and their expressive qualities, and you will be able to use them to create a stunning composition. Yes or no? Yes? Yeah, I hope so. You will be able. Otherwise, you go back, go through the video again and then try to understand it. So we will stop here. In our next video lecture, we are going to understand shape as an element of design with more emphasis on its expressive qualities and role in graphic design field. So hoping to see you all in the next video. Till then, goodbye and see you soon.